Hi, Carl here from GlassCast and welcome to another countertop tutorial. In this video I'm going to be focusing specifically on the colours and the blending techniques to create this incredibly detailed 3D green copper effect using our Jaded copper countertop kit. All of the other information like preparing your work surfaces, masking off and how to get perfect effects over those rolled edges is in our main countertop tutorial. So make sure you watch that alongside this one, but for now, as I say, we're just going to be focusing on creating this incredible look. Your kit's going to include all of the colours that you need to complete this effect. So we'll be using a topaz green and a super white to create a two-tone primer coat. Then we'll be taking some bronze and copper and a little bit of black to create multiple metallic shades. The kit also comes with a handy colour card that will tell you exactly how much resin, pigment and shimmer you'll need for each stage of the process, and for different sized worktops. The Jaded copper effect is insanely detailed and certainly one of the most dramatic kits we've got in the GlassCast countertop range. You can see here the colours, detail and depth of the effect and the way you can glimpse down through the metallic copper surfaces to these flashes of the jaded verdigris underneath, all blended together with this intricate lacing. So let's go back to the start and I'll show you how to complete this effect. Now you may have noticed that in many of our other countertop kits we use a single solid colour for the primer coat. However, with the Jaded copper we're going to be creating two different shades of topaz green. Now this is going to give it that distinct patinaed effect that's going to be visible through some of the clear sections when we apply the main pour. So we're going to begin by creating our darker shade and then we'll separate half of this off to create our lighter shade. Following the kit's colour card, weigh out the resin and the pigment needed for your countertop area. While I'm making up the darker shade, I'm just going to add a few drops of the super white. Now, we're not looking to change the colour here, we're just going to increase the opacity, which is going to help block out the existing pattern in your countertops. We weigh out and mix the pigment before adding the hardener to help reduce the time that mixed resin spends in the pot. We know from the main countertop tutorial that as soon as we add the hardener, the resin will start to cure. And we know that we'll have about 30 minutes to get the resin out of the pots and onto the counters. After mixing thoroughly, double pot and mix again. Now we're going to take half of this mix and we're going to add some super white to create our lighter shade. Use the kit's colour card as a guide to lighten this pot. If you want to make it lighter, just add a little more white colour until you reach your desired shade. Start by pouring islands of the lighter shade onto your counters. Try to avoid any patterns and try to keep it random. Then, using your brush, roughly spread these islands, focusing on thinning the edges. You want to leave patches of your original counter still visible, as this is where we'll be pouring the darker shades. Now fill the gaps with your darker shade. Again, with your brush, spread the resin around. When you've completely covered your old counters, you can begin to blend the two shades together. Again, a random action is key here. Try to avoid any linear patterns. At this point, we've pretty much created the patinaed effect with the brush. However, we're going to blend it all a little bit further with the hairdryer. The hairdryer is a fantastic tool when it comes to achieving organic, natural blending. And it means that you don't need to put flammable alcohol or oils on top of your resin. It really is satisfying to watch as it naturally clouds and mixes the shades. So that's all of the primer coat down, and as you can see, the Jaded copper effect is already giving us a dramatic look. So we're just going to leave this to cure off as described in the main countertop tutorial. To complete this Jaded copper effect, we're now going to be creating 4 batches of resin. Now this will consist of 2 shades of the bronze, a copper, and of course, as I said earlier, we're going to be using some clear resin. So the purpose of this is to just allow that jaded verdigris to be visible through some of the metallic effects. As we're not pigmenting our base mix, we'll add the hardener now before separating what we need to create our metallic shades. And as always, double pot to ensure that no unmixed resin finds its way onto your worktops. Decant about 1/4 of this clear base mix into another pot for your bronze mix, and then another 1/4 into a pot for your copper mix. The colour card will tell you exactly how much pigment and shimmer you'll need to create your shades at this stage. When you've mixed your 2 metallic shades, separate a small amount of the bronze to create your dark accent. Just add a few drops of the jet black, then mix by eye until you reach your desired shade. With all of our shades now mixed, we'll start by laying down the majority of our clear resin. Using the same method as we did with the primer coat, we want to pour out nearly all of the clear resin to create islands and leave bare patches. Then, with a brush, disturb the edges of these islands. Here we're trying to taper the edges, so when we shortly add the metallic shades, there'll be more of a distinct gradient between the two colours. Sporadically spread and disturb the edges so that resin appears to be very uneven. Now pour out your copper to fill some of the patches around the clear. Then, with your bronze, fill the remaining bare patches. There really is nothing special about this technique. I'm just trying to splodge the metallic shades as randomly as I can. Starting with the brush, we'll now begin to transform these piles of resin. Mottle the edges where the two shades meet and where they both meet the clear resin. With the dark bronze, trace around some of the points where the shades meet, and you can drizzle small amounts of the resin over the clear areas too. Keep in mind, as you're blending the copper and bronze into the clear resin, that you want to keep some of these areas clear. These patches of clear resin create windows down to the jaded surface beneath. Checking on my time, it's been about 20 minutes since I added the hardener, so I'm going to move on to blending the resin with a hairdryer and really begin to develop this effect. Where the clear resin meets the metallic resin, gently push the join lines back and forth. Think of it a little bit like making bread. We're using the hairdryer to fold the layers over and under, which just creates this completely mesmerising 3D effect. Keep working the resin back and forth with the hairdryer until you have soft blends between all the different shades. So that's all of the resin onto the countertops, and it's already looking very dramatic. If we take a closer look at some of the detail here, we can see some natural cells and some natural lacing, and it's just looking amazing. For now, we're just going to leave this to gel off over the next couple of hours, at which point we'll remove the barrier tape and the effect will continue to roll over that front edge. Full details on how to achieve perfect continuous effects over those rolled edges is of course in the main countertop tutorial. So that's it folks, this dramatic transformation is complete. All that's left to do is stand back and admire your work. And what a result it is. I could see this effect creating a really bold statement in a contemporary kitchen or being a unique centerpiece in a vibrant shop or bar. I really don't think there's anything quite like it. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. However, if the jaded copper look isn't for you, we've got plenty more countertop kits available at glasscastresin.com. Comments and likes are very much appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe and click that bell if you want to see more resin tutorials as we make them. All GlassCast countertop kits include all necessary resin, pigment and effects, a video tutorial covering the full installation process, a separate video tutorial specific to that effect, a colour card with measurements and mixes, and any technical support you may need along the way. GlassCast countertop kits are available to buy online at glasscastresin.com. Ordering is simple and secure, with fast delivery available throughout the UK and Europe.